Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of the Eternal Backlog podcast. I'm Nomad.
And I'm Shady Armic.
And we're back for another episode here, slightly a little bit earlier than forecasted because we've got a couple of busy weekends ahead. And as you know, Shady, I'm off to France, so...
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Well, I'm super looking forward to it. You know, it's usually the place I go through to get to somewhere that I prefer to go to, like Spain, but... But, you know, you've got to go in there with an open mind, and we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it, though.
Doing a bit of alcohol shopping?
Alcohol? Oh, yeah, the duty-frees. You can get that 50% ABV Smirnoff at duty-free.
But only one bottle of it, though.
Only one bottle of it, but it's the 50% proof. It will knock your eyebrows off.
That's the blue label stuff, right?
Exactly, and I'm probably going to pick up a bottle of that. But we really got tight with packing the suitcase because we weren't sure about the baggage allowance situation, and we were just like, do we risk it? We're flying with EasyJet. You don't want to risk it with EasyJet, ladies and gentlemen.
There's nothing easy about EasyJet.
There's nothing easy about EasyJet, and they will charge you for oxygen if they could. I don't know what's worse, whether it's EasyJet or Ryanair.
Well, just to shed some light for our US audience, that's the equivalent of Spirit Airlines.
Yeah, proper full-on budget airlines.
You're lucky if you get a chair with springs. Excuse my French.
You've already done it this week. You're going to have to go in and fix that one yourself, mate.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got an action-packed show for you today. It's a little shorter, a little bit more compressed, but we've got a ton of content that you guys can enjoy over the next few weeks. And look, I can't emphasize this enough. Please go and follow us on Instagram because we give you behind-the-scenes content, extra stuff that we don't think is quite ready for a full release. But it just keeps you in tune and updated with stuff that's kicking off all over the games industry. And we can also test your knowledge on video games. What video game is this? Let us know, because we can send you video clip footage and you can test your own knowledge on that. And we've got all of our polls and all of that good stuff. So a bit of housekeeping to start off this episode. Once again, we do have our poll results. I don't know if you want to go over these, Shady, but we've got a completely different reaction here in relation to Switch 2.
Yeah, and it's a reaction I kind of expected, to be honest. And that is 84% of you said that yes, you would absolutely hands down buy a Switch 2, no questions asked, which is a hell of a better response compared to the PS5 Pro the week before.
Exactly, yeah.
7% of you said it depends on the specs, 7% said no. So it depends on the specs. I can... You know, that's a take it or leave it thing. You know, it's going to be underpowered compared to the rest of what's out there, your PlayStations, your Xboxes, and your PCs. But at the end of the day, if you temper your expectations going in knowing that this is going to be a little bit underpowered but still miles better than the current Switch, I think you're in for a treat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if they can just even bring it up to anywhere near a PS4 Pro standard, they're going to get around of those big problems that they had with frame rates that they've suffered some frame. I told you I bought the Amnesia collection. I think I'm going to need Amnesia to even try and play that on the Switch. So
just a side note on that, I stopped playing Amnesia. I couldn't anymore.
You did?
It was boring. So boring. It wasn't even worth the achievements. No.
Oh, there you go. Glowing review there.
If you love your games in 480p in 2024, then Amnesia Collection is your game.
Well, as we get closer towards Halloween, which seems like miles away, we're probably going to do a themed episode all based on horror games. I know that both of us are still yet to go through Callisto Protocol, so keep an eye on for that. But let's enjoy summer. Let's not think about that. It's been a bad enough winter as it is. This week, which we remembered, we're going to roll over because it was my fault. I put it right at the end. We have our viewer question of the week, which was all about what was the first ever video game that you played that truly blew your mind and why? Let us know in the comments section. Please respond to this. I think it's a very interesting topic. We do have one which is very interesting, apparently Overcooked, from last week. But it could be anything, you know, open the vault doors on Fallout, that type of thing. There's a whole heap of stuff on there. But we actually have ours. So we're gonna tell you ours now because we didn't get a chance to tell you ours last week. My one and I don't know whether yours is on the pulse, Shady, but mine was definitely Hunter for the Atari ST. So what was Hunter? Well, I guess if you were to hark back to 1991 and ask about an open world game, well, they tried to do it in Hunter. I mean, it's super polygon, but there is just something about the magic of an open world game, and seeing someone try and attempt it on the Atari ST was phenomenal. And not only that, but you had a whole range of different vehicles. It was an army-based type of game, but you could, get onto battleships and go across the plains in the water to find the next piece of land. You had your typical sort of army jeeps and a number of other vehicles in that game. That blew my mind, and for other people, it might actually be, for my type of age, things like Elite, which tried to do what Starfield did, but back in the early 90s, late 80s. Obviously didn't do it with the same aplomb. I don't think aplomb is the right word for it, because not even Starfield managed to do it properly. No Man's Sky, probably, I guess, was the best attempt at that. But it spoke a lot to me, and not only that, it wasn't my only moment, and I think just leaving that jail cell in Elder Scrolls Oblivion was another big one, and so was seeing the vast size of the map, albeit there wasn't really much going on, but still it was very interesting to just see how big that map was in the original Just Cause by Avalanche and Square Enix. So I don't know what yours was. Shady, has anything come to mind on that one?
Oh yeah, I forgot to write it down on the notes, but I know exactly what I'm gonna say. Mine's a bit more mainstream, but I think everyone's played this, and that's simply Doom. Doom was the first game that blew my mind to hell and back, no pun intended. It was, I did play Wolfenstein 3D on the PC before playing Doom. Doom was hard for me to get hold of, because obviously it came out in, 93, I want to say, so I was about 10, maybe 11 years old at the time. Definitely shouldn't have played this game, but, everyone had the ability to copy floppy disks back in those days on a PC. Okay. And so you get your copy of Doom on your 2 or 3 floppies, and I think the entire game was like 10, maybe 11 megabytes. By today's standards, that's a drop in the ocean. Back then, though, that was a hefty, chunk of hard drive space. But it just blew my mind. The expansive world, this dark, and I'm not afraid to say it, I was scared, to my wits as a kid. It just showed me things I'd never seen before, not in movies, not in video games. Just opened everything up. Granted, the enemies were obviously in 2D sprites. The music was still kind of, it had that MIDI synthesizer soundtrack to it, which to this day is still one of the best soundtracks. That was it, Episode 1, Map 1 of the first Doom.
High energy.
Oh yeah. You hit the ground running with that. You just knew what to do as soon as you got dropped into that situation. And then obviously they followed up with Doom 2, I think a year later, which was pretty much just riding the success of the first game. Not too different, to be honest. Added weapon, they added the super shotgun. And instead of having chapter-based maps, they just had a simple linear map system. So, I think it was 1 to 32, map 32 being the last boss, if I remember correctly. But that changed my life, made me want to delve deeper into the video game black hole, so to speak. And yeah, I've been here ever since, looking for that high. And I'm one of those people that will say that the Doom 2016 remake was incredibly faithful to the original, and my hat goes off to Machine Games for that. Doom Eternal, even though technologically better, in my opinion, it strayed too far from the Doom formula. It didn't feel like a Doom game. It was a lot of flying and zipping around, and it wasn't Doom. Yeah, it had the weapons, it had the enemies. It wasn't Doom, in my opinion. But roast me in the comments if you disagree.
Well, it's interesting you picked Doom. Did it just push it just far enough past Wolfenstein 3D?
Oh, it was a night and day difference. See, Wolfenstein, it was a very... Visually, it was a lot more pixelated. There was only a choice of 4 weapons. The textures and sprites were heavily reused, so every enemy damn near looked the same. I think there was only maybe 5 different types of enemies. So a lot of this stuff was just reused and just different layouts. But Doom really, up the ante. Every level had some mechanic that you had to figure out how to traverse this chasm, or how do I open this door, or there's a secret. This was the first time I experienced secret walls. And then I even went back and played Wolfenstein 3D again to find out that its software had already put secret walls in that game as well. So it really made you think about getting from one side of the map to the other.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, memories. You know what I nearly picked up, because interestingly enough, we've, for anyone that's obviously seen, we've had a bit of a game preservation focus on the last episode and also on the highlight clips as well. I saw Quake Arena Arcade on the 360. I went to buy it, to grab it and snap it. It wouldn't accept my payment details.
That's a first.
So I'm really hoping we get something happening again on that front.
I really hope that in one of Bethesda's showcase or Xbox's showcases coming up, we'll get a free-to-play Quake, a proper one. I know we got Quake Champions back in, 2016, 2015, and it was good. It pushed the 120 FPS limit, but I want something a bit more mainstream, something that brings back the essence of what made Quake 3 Arena so good. But
we'll just redo Quake 3 Arena.
I was just about to say, we all know that's coming down, because they added Quake 3 Arena to Game Pass for PC. So,
right, okay.
If I don't know who's going to remaster it or remake it on the console side, if Night Dive get their hands on it like they did with Quake 2, then we're in for a real treat. Cannot wait for that.
Well, that would be superb.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
And it's
so good.
free if you've got Game Pass.
Exactly. We're shilling the Game Pass there. Viewer poll of the week this week is, what is your favorite D-pad on a game controller? It's very niche, but what is your favorite D-pad on a game controller? We're going to give you a couple of options to select from, including the Saturn, that's from the Sega Saturn, and the Genesis, of course, the 6-button on the Genesis. So I think we're going to have a number of options there for you, but we're definitely not including the Atari Jaguar.
We're definitely not.
So,
I had to think long and hard.
An abomination of a controller that was.
Well, I had to think long and hard about that one. Originally, I was thinking maybe the original PlayStation or PS2 was pretty good, but then you started getting along. I don't know what it was. By PS3 and 4, the D-pad kind of got a bit more flat. The original 3-button Genesis controller had a really flat D-pad as well, but when they re-released the 6-button, for some reason that thing stuck out. It protruded like a bad hairline. It was really, really out there.
Can you do me a favor and include the Steam Deck in the options, because I think the D-pad on that is amazing. You don't have to. I'll let you select the options.
Oh no,
You won't be able to give it the shady approval though. To be fair.
You know what I'm gonna do actually? I'm gonna group them by manufacturer. So Nintendo's, your Segas, your Xboxes and PlayStations, and if I've got space, then other. But I don't think Threads allows 5.
No, Zuckerberg is interested in limiting your choices.
4 is enough.
But yeah. Anyway, that's the housekeeping taken care of, and I think we need to go to the elephant in the room and just go straight on to talking about the Fallout TV series, because my word, what an incredible, and you said it yourself, easy 10 out of 10. This series has paid the most beautiful homage to a video game, and has done it better than anything out there.
Yeah.
And I'll let you opine. Well, not opine, but I'll let you wax lyrical. I've got a few notes myself, but what's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are simple. I don't get drawn in to the hype whenever I hear that there is they're going to do Last of Us. And I know Last of Us was highly revered. Everyone said it was really good, and it, drew tears and everything. And I'm not taking anything away from that. But I don't really go towards the TV shows, game adaptations. So I've not watched Halo. Have no interest, to be honest, in watching Halo, even though I'm a pretty avid Halo player. Gran Turismo had a movie. Could I care less about a Gran Turismo film? No. I know Super Mario had a really good movie last year, and I do have it. I haven't gotten around to watch it. I've just not found the desire to go into it. But the hype surrounding Fallout has been monumental, and I think I walked into it scared, because Fallout is one of my precious babies. It's one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. So going into it, I was like, oh, I hope they do this right. And I hope it isn't cheesy, most of all. When I watch this, I don't want to see cardboard cutouts and tons of special effects. I want it to really look like a wasteland, and they've blown me away. It's nothing short of that. You've got the main characters, the protagonists, the clans, the Brotherhood of Steel, the feral ghouls, the vault dwellers. I don't even know where to start. There's so much to go off of. I suppose let's start with the acting. I mean, I've never really delved into any of Ella Purnell's stuff. So obviously she's got a very unique look, really wide-eyed. So I thought, okay, this is interesting. She nailed it. The character, the complete naivety of who she plays, like just walking into every situation with this expectation that everyone's gonna be nice and play by the rules and everything's honky-dory and there's rainbows and pots of gold at the end of it, only to be starkly reminded that no, this is a wasteland and everyone is out to kill you. And so the journey in it, the reasons behind the journey, her quest, what she's looking for, honestly, I'm probably not doing a very good job of structuring my thoughts right now because I'm really just going off the top of my head, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I said this on X, it's for sure the best video game adaptation I've ever seen. And take that with a pinch of salt, because I know I just said I don't really watch video game adaptations at all. And that's probably why.
Well, I watched The Witcher, and The Witcher was obviously more centered around the way that they looked at that. They looked less at the game, and they looked more at the book series. And then I know that the creators of the Halo series didn't even bother to play the games. Didn't even bother to play the games. I was like, come on, man.
Well, they even...
I mean, I know I don't understand the bloody plot in Fallout, but it's just at least play the games. Give people the real semblance.
Do the research
of the Master Chief. And that's probably why the Master Chief ended up getting his, he took his helmet off in the series and showed who he was.
Episode 2, I think, in the first season.
Something like that. I was like, I couldn't wait to get the thing off.
we haven't even seen his face in the game.
No, exactly. I mean, talk about what a way to mess things up.
I didn't expect Master Chief to be of the Mexican descent, if I'm honest.
Well, I haven't seen it myself, but it's interesting that just rule 101. If you're going to make a video game adaptation, play the games. Be a fan of the games. And I thought that the direction that was happening in here, if you look at the directors for this, you've got Geneva Robertson Dworet, who actually wrote the Tomb Raider movie. And you've also got Graham Wagner, who's synonymous for comedy. And that's where you get all that comedic value out of Fallout, which was there's a ton of it, because he directed Silicon Valley. And I thought that mix between the two was absolutely perfect blend between the two, because that's something that Fallout not necessarily had to do, but they brought these comedic moments in every episode. There was something in every episode that you'd laugh at. And just a note on Ella Purcell, who played Lucy McLean, I thought that they just blended it perfectly. This wasn't necessarily all about the character as the Vault Dweller, because there was equal
screen time
homage paid towards Walter Goggins, who's the ghoul, but also the poster child for Vault Tech, and then Maximus that joins the Brotherhood of Steel. So you've got three, what I would call, big characters throughout all of these episodes, and it really gives you that full story. And I think that really plays beautifully, because part of the love of the Fallout series is going into those side quests. And with any Bethesda game, and I saw it perhaps more in Starfield for myself, it's actually half the love of some of this stuff is to explore those side quests. And side quests end up being really strong. And I thought they brought that across absolutely beautifully into the game. Interestingly, though, IMDb gave this only an 8.7 out of 10, which I'm guessing, I don't know where their heads are at with an overall 8.7 out of 10 for this, because from what I've seen of video game adaptations, I think they're perhaps going at, they could have been more. It's like when you see on Rotten Tomatoes and you see a film, and it is a classic example, a Coen Brothers movie. One of the worst movies I've seen, for me, is No Country for Old Men. I fell asleep watching that movie, and so did my dad at the cinema. But supposedly it's amazing. Same with The Big Lebowski. I don't get why it was supposedly so good.
The Big Lebowski is my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, was it? I didn't really get the appeal of it.
Oh, it's one of those ones you have to watch 50 times and you'll get something out of it different each time.
Maybe I just wasn't smart enough for it. Maybe that's what they're going at, you know, because it was very straightforward for people to get exactly what was happening in that. And I don't want to spoil the plot for you, but when it comes to the last episode, big reveal. Wow, just stay for that last episode because you're like, I've not obviously completed the Fallout games. That was a huge reveal for me, and I'm guessing some of that material is in the terminals where you read the back histories in the games. But that was just absolutely superb. Do you know what? I've got to talk about some of the cast members in this. I was so pleased to see, what's his name from Lost? I've got the note
John
on
Locke.
here. No, not the John Locke guy. The guy that plays Benjamin. Linus in Lost. Michael Emerson. He's come out of nowhere. He's back. And maybe he's in stuff I haven't watched. But he played an amazing character in Lost as Benjamin Linus that really made Lost absolutely superb until after Series 3, where they should have capped it. It should have been 3 seasons long. No more. Lost would have been amazing. And then you've also got Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
The guy that has TDS on X. You know, this guy's just was out there during the whole presidency of the T-Man, and he just didn't like anything. And it was interesting to see the character that Michael Rappaport played, who was a part of the Brotherhood of Steel, but perhaps not its finest member of the Brotherhood of Steel. Yeah. So that was super entertaining. And do you remember the dog? Obviously, it mentions dog meat at one point later on in the game with the ghoul, but earlier on with the character of the I can't remember the guy's name, but basically Michael Emerson plays him,
the professor,
that scientist type guy. But that was called CX404 was the name of that dog, that lab dog. Kept triggering my dogs at home. I mean that whole second episode. If you've got dogs, watch out. It's very dog laden, and you might want to put that into the equation. But also, the VATs. You didn't see out and out VATs in this, but you could see where it was showing the VATs with all of this slowdown and getting to see all of this real gruesome type stuff with some of the kills in Fallout. That you know that the reason why they did it is they were thinking about the VAT system when they were doing it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's phenomenal. I can't speak highly enough about this particular series. I mean, it's just a perfect homage for me. And no doubt, absolutely no surprise that the second season has been confirmed. We're not going to say where the location is, but
for anyone who's played the games, you'll be pleasantly surprised, or pleasantly pleased as well. Yeah,
exactly.
If I were to pick one gripe, it's not really a gripe, and that is I wish it was a bit longer. I know they wrapped up the story in 10 episodes, but I wish it was maybe 12. I'd even take 14 episodes, you know. But there were probably
was it 10 episodes.
10 episodes.
10?
Was it 8?
I think it was 8, mate.
Was it 8 or 10?
I think it was all done and dusted in 8 episodes, yeah.
I'm actually looking this up now.
We'll double check. I'm pretty sure it's only 8 episodes.
Let's have a look. Oh, no, you're right. It is 8. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why. So, yeah, I would have taken another 2 to 4 episodes just to let things breathe a little bit more.
What do you think about this whole... Because this series really did bring on the whole debate about on-demand versus waiting each week to watch it. Do you wish that perhaps it was savoured a bit more? Or are you a bit more like, let's just get it done. Let's watch it, but I know I'm going to wait several years before I get the next lot.
I'm not, when I watch TV shows, I prefer to binge them as much as I can. And I think from everyone I've spoken to in life, Generally, that's the general consensus. People just like to binge things, 2, 3, 4 episodes at once after dinner or whatever. I still don't get what's beneficial to the streaming platforms for them by doing this, because in theory you could sign up to a free trial, watch the entire
you get
thing,
2 months worth of subscription out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to having drip feeding us once a week. So I'm not complaining. They're clearly following the Netflix model, which they tend to drop Stranger Things all at once. Although the last season they dropped it in 2 parts. So
yeah.
No, I binge it. I binge for sure. I prefer to binge.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, there's just so much content out there to be consuming. It's like just give it to me all at once. But I mean, if they were smart from a business model, then perhaps they should release it in batches and keep people subscribed to the platform.
Well,
maybe they'll rethink this with the economy. I don't know.
Well, I don't keep up with the streaming news too much, but was this their biggest hit after, what was it, Grand Tour? So
100%.
They kind of
Amazon
needed
a hit. They've got it. They desperately needed a hit, and this is, the one thing. And obviously, Grand Tour is very niche. This perhaps has a bigger appeal than that to more people. But Amazon needed a hit, and this was it. This was it, and they might even double down and go, do you know what, Xbox, or even think about what they could do.
Oh, Prime is part of Game Pass. Go on. Go on. Extra $1 a month, get Prime.
Well, what was the series that they could really do on the? There was someone was saying they could really do something amazing with this. That's an Xbox IP as well. Like, I don't know whether it's possibly they could play around with the Elder Scrolls thing or something else.
I mean,
I can't remember. Someone was saying
it opens the doors. They've clearly got the right team. It's just a matter of
Gears of War. Gears of War.
Yeah, there's been rumors of a Gears of War show/movie for years, though.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know. I feel like a Gears of War show or a movie is kind of very expected. I'll walk into that watching it, knowing that this is going to happen then, and that's going to happen at this part, and there's going to be a chainsaw kill where an enemy gets cut in half. Like, it just feels too predicted.
Yeah, it'll probably end up looking like Grimsby, the movie or something. I don't know.
Yeah, more blood.
But yes, that was our opinions of the Fallout TV series, and like I say, it's worth signing up to Prime for a month just to watch it.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
easily going to get your money's worth, and you can buy a couple of extra packages online.
Now let me ask you this. So obviously watching the Fallout show has definitely got you in the Fallout mood, as it has with many of European gamers, because Fallout 4 has suddenly become the highest selling game in Europe this month all of a sudden.
It is, yeah. It's interesting.
I found that amazing.
Well, it's a part of our news segment, which we can go into the news next. Let's start off on this one. Because do you know how much the sales increased?
Go on.
7,500%.
Oof, where's that on? Steam?
Obviously, from it being pretty much maybe getting 1 or 2 sales, because it's been out for so long.
Yeah.
It's just had a parabolic shift across all platforms, basically.
All platforms, wow.
And in the Fallout 76 servers, which we'll go into a bit later, all of a sudden repopulated with people. I mean, what a great bit of momentum. But it's interesting that Bethesda's, we know that their next game is working on Elder Scrolls. I don't think they necessarily knew how big this was going to be.
Yeah.
I bet they're partially thinking, wish we went for Fallout 5 now.
What timing? No, but they knew this was going to be something special, because Bethesda did play it smart, and they did time it along with a patch announcement.
Yeah, no, definitely. So maybe if you were to connect the dots, is it possible that we might see something on the Fallout side of things come Series 2, or an announcement come Series 2 of the series, and by that point the new Elder Scrolls game would be out. Bethesda might be ready to talk about what's next for the... I mean, the fact that they were so intelligent, and they did the same with Starfield, that they, this whole series on Starfield, you build a massive planet system, the longevity's there. Same with Fallout, you've built all these vaults, there's so many different stories you could tell.
Yeah.
They need to just make sure they time it right, that people don't get totally burnt out. But there's so much more they could do with that universe.
Well, this is it. The lore is so deep with Fallout, and even in the games, we've barely scratched the surface. I think there's 122 vaults, if I'm not mistaken, and then each game typically focuses on one, and you may come across one or two in your travels in the wasteland, and it will shed some light on what was going on in that vault. Like I think one of my favorite ones, and I don't think this is a spoiler, especially this, far after the release of Fallout 3, was this one vault you stumble across where they were cloning a single man called Gary. And so you go in, you break into this vault, and you start getting attacked by all these vault dwellers who are clearly like psycho, and and the only dialogue they say is Gary. So you have hundreds of Garys just attacking you for no reason. You start hacking and reading the terminals, and you realize that, as you saw in the TV show, that every vault is an experiment in itself. So that was the cloning vault. So there's just so many different directions they can go.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm really excited for it, and I can't wait to step back in on the 26th of April, Fallout 4 with that extra paint polish, and really get into that, because obviously I told you that I got as far as the Diamond City and then didn't finish it. Maybe I'm getting the best experience, by not finishing these games, seeing that ending for the first time in the best possible way.
Well, you're going back and you're playing it on a Series X, so it's already got you've already got the horsepower. And then you get this new next-gen patch that's around, I think next week they're releasing it. And then, obviously, they've had, 5, 6, 7 years to kind of patch it and bug fix it and prep it. And you've got DLC now. I finished Fallout 4. I finished 2 of the 3 DLC packs. But the last one, the Nuka-Cola one, I haven't finished.
Yeah.
So I've got a reason to go back and finish that now.
So you going to go through the whole game again?
No. I've got a save where I'm halfway through the last DLC.
Right, okay.
So.
Fair enough. Well, it's very interesting. I'm super excited for it, and hopefully they do something with Fallout 3 and Vegas, to be honest.
Well,
but you never know.
Rumor is there's a remake on the horizon, so we're in April now. We're 2 months off from Jeff Keighley's summer showcase and all the
Summer Game Fest,
Summer Game Fest and all that jazz. I wonder if we'll have a stage runner this time round, wanting to play games with Bill Clinton or whatever, but we'll see. You didn't see that, the stage?
I saw the guy who keeps running on the stage. He even did it at Gamescom.
Yeah, he was screaming about GTA 6. I want to play it.
Well, we'll finally get his chance.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll shut him up. Anyway, on to the rest of the gaming news. We've got a few stories for you today, and let's start off with a very, very quick one. There's not really too much to say on this. We're in a wild economy, and Take-Two has announced a 5% layoff of all their staff, with some of their projects being cancelled. Now, what those projects are, we're not sure. They haven't actually disclosed what they are. It's obviously not GTA, so I can't think what else it might be. Maybe they're, canning. I don't know.
The only thing I can think of are compilations and remasters. There isn't really anything else I'm aware of that they're making. They've got so many IPs, but they hardly do anything with them. Yeah,
and it kind of ties back to they're putting more bulk into GTA Plus, and perhaps we know that's why that is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this whole situation. I don't think we've seen the end of it. We've seen a whole tranche of layoffs, and I think this could end up appearing in our news stories pretty much every episode until we get into summer or something. It just seems to be. I don't think we're done bleeding out on the layoffs and stuff at the moment, but that's that. And if you are interested in emulation, because, look, there's a whole discussion on emulation and should it be happening, and there's some people that would defend Nintendo to the hilt for playing whack-a-mole with all of these emulators, like they did with the Switch emulator, which perhaps I've got a bit more, sympathy for, because it was happening with games that were releasing on day one. But we've seen a new emulator release on iOS, and I think it was Android as well, that plays a whole bunch of different systems, and it's by the time that this publishes, Nintendo or whoever has probably tried to get this down. We've grabbed it because we've seen what's been happening with some of these games. They're getting removed, they're not getting any support, and emulation ensures pure, unbridled preservation of games. So we've downloaded it. It's called Delta. So if you're interested in picking up an iOS emulator, not an iOS emulator, an emulator for Nintendo games. I think there was a bunch of Sega games as well. I think you mentioned that there's a Sega. There seems to be a bunch of them cropping up
Yeah.
on mobile devices all of a sudden.
Yeah, and that's partly due to the fact that a couple of years ago, Apple lost an EU antitrust lawsuit. And that was they have to open up sideloading of apps in European markets now. So what that means is, I think it was the last release, iOS 17.4. If you're in mainland Europe, you can install entire third-party app stores.
Yeah.
So you can get anything on there, and I think that's just, it's a small hole in the ship that's just bound to get bigger and bigger. But what's more interesting, actually, is along with that release, or shortly thereafter, Apple changed some of their terms of service, especially when it comes to game streaming. So if you remember a few years ago, there was this app from Xbox rumored for Game Pass to stream directly from the cloud to your phone, but that never happened. It never came to fruition, and that was because it violated Apple's terms of agreement on the App Store. Well, that looks like it's been U-turned, and if Microsoft want to take another crack at it and submit it to Apple, it should, in theory, get approved. So
Nice.
I don't know how I feel about this. Obviously, it's cool. We get a few more things that we couldn't get our hands on before. But part of the reason why I go into the Apple ecosystem is because it's locked down and I don't get the Android filth that every other Windows PC tends to deal with.
In that sandbox.
In that, it's not even a sandbox; it's a sandcastle that everything just filters right through. Yeah.
Well, I'm all for. We'll go on to later on this show. Big mobile resurgence here, and we're going to have a bit of a feisty debate on our recommended buy this week. But we'll get to that in due course. Another couple of quick stories for you then. A couple of these are all Sea related actually, which is very interesting. We got Sea of Thieves breaking their milestone, 40 million players across Xbox consoles and PC. We've obviously got it coming out on PS5 soon. I've got a feeling that game's going to be really well received on PS5 unless you're a PlayStation fanboy. This is going to be a game they're craving out for, and I think that Rare will get a lot of success from that.
I just find it funny that if you go onto the PlayStation Store right now, you've got Fallout plagued all over the place, Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush. It's just like a Xbox takeover on the PlayStation screen at the moment.
It's almost like the long play is paying off for...
Who would have thought? We now see that Jim Ryan saw the writing on the wall last year when he took his briefcase of money and walked off, chasing sunsets.
It's interesting, no doubt. But on the sadder side of things, and look, I'm not going to beat up on Ubisoft all episode because I actually have something later on in this episode to say some very high praise for Ubisoft, but we'll get to that. But first off, what really made me laugh as well is that they actually came out and said that this is our first quadruple A title. This is worth the price tag we stuck it at over $70. I can't remember how. It was like one of the most expensive Ubisoft base layer games. Let's not get into the new Star Wars game, which they're charging over £120 for their most premium edition. But Ubisoft have put a 50% discount on Skull and Bones.
There you go.
It didn't take long. It did not take long for them to axe that price. And it's dropped like a stone. And it doesn't help that Sea of Thieves is coming out on PS5.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know about you, but I mean, I've got to be really bored to play that game.
I wanted to like it when it was first announced, but what's it been? 7 years delayed or something? It was supposed to come out on the PS4.
It was announced ages ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was actually announced, I think, a year after Sea of Thieves was.
Yeah, I remember them like shilling the Tropic. Was it? No, they didn't make Tropico, but they were like, I think they made the Anno series, and you looked at it on the surface, and you were like, oh, kind of looks interesting, but
see, I wanted it to succeed. I still want a pirate adventure, a storyline adventure, not just an online experience. I love Sea of Thieves, but I do want something that's rich in content that I can kind of explore the world with. I don't know if I'm going to get that with this game. It doesn't look like it fulfills those needs.
I think what really stuns me is the fact they did a really good job with Black Flag.
Yeah.
And yet they literally had it on a plate and on a platter for Skull and Bones. And you can't even go into the internals of the ship and repair it when it's drowning.
Oh, can't you?
Or anything like that. You can't do any of that stuff in this game.
So you can't ship manage?
Not properly, no. And the animations when the ship sinks, you don't even get to properly enjoy it. It's like really bizarre decisions made on this title.
So it's a ship game in name only then, not experience?
Well, not like a fully fledged experience.
Is there
and
water?
If you wanted a more serious version of it, because obviously Sea of Thieves is a bit more of a light-hearted take on it, then you're lacking.
This is the interesting thing. Now that you've said that, is Sea of Thieves a more light-hearted take? Because, okay, the comedic value and the art style may be, but you have to go downstairs and I grab a bucket, you grab a bucket, and we start funneling that water out of there. That's pretty intricate to me.
That's pretty, it's pretty intricate, but I think...
Grab the wood!
Yeah, but I think that the overall, vibe of it is trying to be a bit more... And the art style as well.
Mature.
But, so Skull and Bones, it's done, Ubisoft, but, you keep firing... you keep firing out these cannons of games that you want to succeed, and maybe we've got one for you later.
What do you want from Ubisoft right now? I tell you what I want. I want a Rayman, a new Rayman.
That's not a bad shout. Not a bad shout at all. I would. I think I've got what I've wanted.
What did you get?
It's. Well, we'll go into our games we've been playing section because I've just checked out a playtest, and I think they are filling that void in my heart that was left out of Rainbow Six Siege.
Ooh.
Which it was not the game I wanted it to be, and they've gone and knocked one out the park. Now, whether this title, because it's going to be free to play, and they could really mess this up easily. Look, I'll talk about it when we get to our play section.
Okay.
But boy, oh boy, this happened literally an hour before recording. You can check out the shorts. I get super excited on this clip. I had to create this video before we recorded today because I've been super excited for an FPS arena shooter for the first time in a very long time.
Interesting.
Let's crack through the last couple of quick stories for you. I think we've only actually got one more. That is the fact that there is a PS5 exclusive that has been ESRB rated for Xbox that came out in 2021. Giving me slight Zelda vibes. But it's called Kena Bridge of Spirits. It's an action title, and it could be finding its way onto Xbox. Not 100% confirmed at the moment, but True Achievements came out and said, look, we can see the ESRB rating. Why would they randomly stick an ESRB rating on an Xbox game?
Yeah.
This game came out 3 years ago. I looked up the gameplay trailer for this. It's definitely something I'd see myself playing.
Yeah, I've actually got it in my PS5 wish list, and so
you have? Okay.
yeah, I've had my finger on the pulse of this game for a while. Actually, it's beautiful and it looks like it could be a lot of fun. The reviews are really good, but for those that don't know, Xbox is my primary platform of choice with all my profile friends and achievements and stuff like that. So. I heard that the exclusivity was 2 years. I could be wrong, but it looks like that might be coming to an end.
Yeah. So I'm not a member of the console wars, but for those on the Xbox console wars side, which you should really check out one of the X spaces because it's hilarious how vested some people get into this thing. Yeah. They're going to be obviously talking about that one right now. That's going to give them the fuel for the fire between the Xbox and the ponies, or that's what they call themselves anyway. But yes. Could be interesting. We got a couple more sections here for this trimmed down podcast episode. I don't know how much I'm really going to say on this game. Actually, I tried to play this in a little bit of single player before we recorded tonight, just to see what would happen, because I was super... One of the major things... Okay, let's get to it. we're talking briefly here about Fallout 76, and we will probably touch back on it again in a future episode. We were super obviously amped from the TV series. We wanted to get in it and try it, see what it was all about. You played a bunch of it before it had a whole bunch of love put back into it. So I decided to give it a little bit of a single player treatment. And one of the pointers about this whole quest syncing, I think I've got a bit of an answer to, but was a little bit bizarre. But let's segue slightly to your opinions on what you think of Fallout 76 from the moment that you first tasted that game, which feels like a couple of years ago now, to where this game is now.
Yeah, I started. Obviously, I'd heard about the catastrophe and the launch issues that came along with 76. So I wasn't immediately running, to play this game, especially because I never had a desire to play Fallout online, if I'm completely honest. So when it got announced, I was like, okay, I could see why there may be some appeal there, but maybe not for me. Anyway, I let the days go by, and obviously it went from bad to worse. And didn't think I'd really ever pick that game up, to be honest. But it came to Game Pass, lo and behold. And I played it for maybe 6 to 8 hours on my Xbox One X. So I got a good-looking version of the game. But it was only running at 30 FPS. Did a few missions, played with it a bit more. Again, this was like way before they put NPCs in there and all the extra content and the modes and stuff, so it was pretty bare bones. Did a few missions and said, okay, this isn't for me. It just lacks Fallout. It lacks what makes the game good. Obviously, with the TV show and you and I deciding to let's pick it up, maybe it's gotten better, as everyone's probably said these past 2 weeks. In some respects, it has. It plays a hell of a lot better on the Series X. You got your 60 FPS, definitely in 4K now, so it runs like a dream. The loading is great because that was a painful part of the previous version. But one thing still remains, and that was we found out very quickly that we couldn't sync up on our objectives. So obviously, you being new to the 76 game, I'd already put a few hours in. I selected a quest on my Pip-Boy, but you weren't seeing the waypoint. You weren't seeing it show up in your Pip-Boy either. So we went along with it, did the quest, and said, okay, maybe because you haven't gotten to that point yet, it doesn't show up for you. So we'll reverse the roles. And why don't we play one of your quests that I probably have already done? And same thing, we couldn't see each other's waypoints. The progress wouldn't sync. It just felt like one of us was going along for the ride, but not really knowing what we were going for. We couldn't follow an arrow, nothing. So it was disappointing. Obviously, we experienced our fair share of bugs. There was a point where I'd sat down and you got stuck to my leg and you couldn't move, even though I'd gotten up afterwards. It's still a mess. I can see why people may like it. There's the building aspect, which is very popular in Fallout 4 and 76. And so maybe in terms of resource gathering and crafting, I can see it being a massive hit. But for two people that want to jump into a game, sync up, do some quests, shoot some ghouls, and then cash it in afterwards, I still didn't see much there to be desired, to be honest.
Well, not only that, between certain checkpoints, it turns into a walking simulator in places as well. I mean, you'll see from the footage. We tried to grab you some scintillating footage, but it turned out that we were meandering and having to make large journeys elsewhere. I think what they tried to do here is bring in that Fallout twist and turn of plots. And in doing so, it seems that some missions can be synced and some can't. Now, I think perhaps you get the best experience if both of you came into that world on a fresh slate, then you might see more sync up happen. But when I looked on Reddit about this, because I was like, what on earth's going on? I'm used to playing a Gearbox game in Borderlands and just, as monotonous that can be at times, at least if you completed a mission, both of you have completed a mission. But supposedly this is how people have been playing this game. For those games, for those quests where you help a teammate out, the other teammate will help the other person out for them to complete it afterwards. I don't get that. Don't make any sense to me. It's such a missed opportunity. And what they've tried to do as well is make specific buildings in this game where it has subquests, so you can have different decision-making situations. Classic Bethesda, you get the option to make different decisions and the outcome changes. And that's what they try to do with some of these select missions as well. So it tells you that the decisions you make, you can only go into this building with people that are a part of your team, because these situations will change depending on how you play it. I think they tried to be almost overly too ambitious with 76 and how this plot line, the sublineage of how they play the plot line in this, and they should have just kept it more simple.
Yeah.
You know, people just want to play a game that doesn't have 6, 7, 8 different bloody outcomes, and just play through a Fallout world where they can build, create their own place. People can go in and attack it and potentially take it over or even nuke it, but have a whole bunch of quest lines in there as well. But if it just synced together and you play through that quest line and there's a bunch of stuff in there and they could add more stuff on, which they have, that's a real big barrier for me to properly get into this. And it's almost like, well, do I have to play half of it on single player to catch up on missions? And is there an easy way to even find out which missions you completed and I haven't? No, there's not. What's this whole menu system between the Pip-Boy, between opening up a Pip-Boy, tracking your quest, pressing the back button to bring the map up, and the start menu? It's like Starfield all over again.
Yeah. You can see where they got the inspiration from, at least.
It's just bizarre.
But I think
some of these decisions.
But this is what happens when you retroactively go back into an older game to try and fix it, you know? Because remember, there was no quests, and granted, they tried to add NPCs and quests and some more story-related features into it. They only did it for the single player. So I think what they tried to do to compensate for those who do sync up online is they got the events things that pop up. So I remember distinctly at one point we're traipsing across the map looking for this club on the top of a mountain or something like that, a nightclub or something. And then along the way, you'll just get these things pop up on your screen like, oh, event starting over here in 5 minutes and event starting over there in 5 minutes, you know? So I can see those things probably being something that maybe have quenched our thirst a little bit more, especially playing online together. But sometimes I don't just want to go to a meaningless event. You know, I don't want to go there and then it tell me, oh, go find 5 tables and bring them back and smash them into pieces of wood we could use for bonfire or something silly like that. You know, pointless fetch quests.
Yeah.
I want something with a bit of meat on it, and it doesn't give me that. So again, going back to some of the stuff we said in I think one of our previous episodes, I really hope they do better with Fallout 5, and that is starting with the engine change, because it just, as you can see on screen, it looks dreary. Even on the Series X, it doesn't. It's not a nice bird to look at, you know. Yeah,
and there's this I noticed this weird ghosting issue as well in the bottom right of the screen. I don't know what it's going, but it looks. I talked about cataracts on the last episode, but this game is actually genuinely. I'm like, where is it picking up this reflection from? Very, very odd. I don't know. I'm not in any rush to jump back in.
No.
I'd love to talk about it a bit more. I don't want to judge it too much, but again, it's just this barrier to entry thing, and I don't know. I'd love to see them do it right. They haven't done it right.
Yeah, I'd love to.
They need to do online multiplayer right, and they just need to simplify it a bit more. And I hope that they do that, because, you know, you looked at Starfield, perfect game for online co-op. They didn't include it.
Yeah.
As well, maybe I'm asking for too much.
But Todd Howard did say that there's a lot coming for Starfield this year that they're going to announce in summer.
Well, he would say that, wouldn't he?
He would, but
this is the man that would put the game on a smart fridge if he could.
That's true. But we do have the DLC, Shattered. Was it Shattered Space? And then apparently there's a lot of I don't even know if it was an online experience or something that alluded to an online experience that may be added as well, on top of the usual slew of skins and ships and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very keen to see what they announce with this summer.
Well, let's... Todd, if you're listening to this, which you won't be, but I'm going to pretend that you are, you created a world of absolute paradise in Paradiso. So why is it so boring to go there? Like Paradiso, the map on that where you marry Sarah... She looked really happy about it.
Oh my!
They should have had water parks that you could go on. They could have done so much with that particular world and made it super fun. Mini games, all sorts of stuff like Golden Saucer in Final Fantasy, right? No, nothing interesting to do here. Oh, I've lost my watch or a ring. Go out and find that ring I lost on the beach. Get out of here! Unbelievable. These bloody fetch quests. They could have done so much with the Paradiso.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. They've got a big opportunity to come in and do some really interesting stuff. Whether they will or not, who knows?
Well, it's like you said. Maybe those who haven't played Starfield because of the negative reviews in the beginning will be going back to something that's a lot better. So, like you're kind of experiencing.
We'll definitely be there for the DLC, and
Yeah.
it'd really be interesting to take a look at Starfield a couple of years from now and see what it's grown into.
Absolutely.
But
Well, they did say it's a 10-year roadmap, so
well,
it's a No Man's Sky
pretty
all over
sure-
again.
well, if they give as much love as what Mr. Murray did, then I'm not going to be disappointed. So that concludes our look at Fallout 76. We wish we could have given you a little more on it, but
Wasn't much meat on the bone.
there wasn't really much meat on the bone. We're going to probably pivot to something else and free up that space on the hard drive.
76 gigs.
Was it 76 gig?
No, I think it's a bit more than that, but
That would have been funny if
that
it
would have
was.
been amazing.
Anyway, on to our evergreen segment here. These are type of questions that we ask each other that have longevity. So I'm going to ask you first. Well, this is interesting because we both picked the same publisher here for games that we grew up with as in childhood that we would love to see remade. Let's start with yourself. It's a classic.
Oh, so I grew up in an Atari ST just like you did.
Yeah.
And there was one game that Dad kept playing, and that was Xenon. And if you don't know what Xenon is, you start off at this little as a little tank shooting little robots and enemies, kind of like a vertical side scroller shooter type thing. And you could hit the spacebar on the keyboard, and you're a plane, and you start shooting things in the air. It's that simple. The premise of it is so simple and mind-numbing, but the way it was executed was brilliant. It felt like real. It felt like there was a little bit of physics in the vehicles. You know, it was a joy to control and play. But then they surpassed that with Xenon 2 Mega Blast, and this just took Xenon and it just flipped it on its head. Art direction, the music, the weapons.
music,
Oh
my
God,
God.
you'd get to the halfway mark on each level, and you have the shopkeeper who would just sell you lasers and homing missiles and a drone that would fly behind you. And oh God, it was amazing. You could refill your energy, your fuel, and again, such a simple concept and premise behind this game, and to describe it really doesn't do it justice. You have to just play 10 minutes of it to go, okay, I get this.
Yeah.
I want to play more. Bitmap Brothers game. I really wish they would either remake it or re-release it. Dying for that, to be honest.
Yeah. I said if I won the Euro Millions, I'm going to put an offer in to buy the Bitmap Brothers back catalogue.
Yeah, they've got some great
And let's
games.
do these games right. Let's just do these games justice in terms of remasters. Mine's the same. Speedball 2.
That's a popular one.
Oh, what a game. What a game. It could get major appeal. And look, for anyone that's played Speedball 2, well, they've done a remaster. Yeah, they have. They did a damn good remaster on iOS. And obviously, people at Bitmap, people like John Hare and all of that stuff, haven't upkept it. So you can't play it anymore. And it was a perfect port of the original. The game was perfect. Didn't need tweaking. Well, on the Xbox Live Arcade and PC, they did a different version of it. And they made all of the parsing automated. They messed up the multipliers. They really did a dog's dinner of the Xbox Live Arcade version of Speedball 2. And that mobile version was just superb. You played as a team called Brutal Deluxe. It was combat handball, is the best way to put it. But what was so good about it is you could knock other players out, take them out, you could bludgeon them and they'll be taken out of the game and you're facing less opponents. But what was really super interesting with that game was the multiplier on the left and right hand side of this steel-based arena, that if you was to manage to throw your ball up on this thing that loops around, you could do it up to 3 times. Every goal that you score would be worth 1x, 2x, 3x the amount. So you could spend that first half of the match trying to pinpoint those things. Then you had little stars on the wall that gave you extra points. There was so much going for this game, and I think it, again, as a genre of a game, which is borderline kind of sports combat type thing, if it was done right, it could be, again, if they brought out a Speedball 3 that just kept the love and the remembering about what was so great about the first game, and then bringing in all of that tech that we've got today, but in the right way, that's an instant hit. That game is an instant hit if they do it right, because you've got the full league system. Imagine if online play worked on that as well, and it worked really well. I mean, you got a recipe for success.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's being revived again. Maybe pick it out of the dust. Someone give me the winning Euro Millions numbers, please. Someone, if we've got a time traveler listening, let us know, because let us know. The creator of Simpsons, you're a time traveler. You keep getting things right all the time.
Yeah.
Let us know what the winning numbers are, and I will buy the Bitmap Brothers back catalogue.
There you go.
I'll buy it for 3.2 million. There you go. I'm sure they'll take it at that price. I don't know. And then we got another question for you as part of our evergreen segment here. What's the biggest thing you don't miss about older gen gaming? And we'll rattle through this one a bit quicker.
Yeah, so there was this point in time where everything, because I think I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, I grew up playing games on PC, right? And so when we started getting into that realm of 3D graphics, everyone was doing it a different way. You had a different API, different graphics manufacturer had a different way of tying it into their card so you'd buy their card. But then the problem is not all games worked with all cards like they do today. Today, for example, you can buy a 3080 and every game works with it. Granted, there's different levels of fidelity that it can handle, but it will 100% work. Back then, you had some games that use DirectX, some games that use OpenGL, some of them even use Voodoo FX. There was all these proprietary methods and means, and I even remember you'd have games like, Tomb Raider 2 and Tomb Raider 3, the old Tomb Raider 2 and 3. And then as soon as you load up that EXE, you actually get like a little sub-menu to select, run the 3DX version, run the DirectX version, run the OpenGL version. So you had all of these compatibility issues, and it was a minefield. You'd go out there and spend £100 to £200, and at that time, this is a peripheral you didn't really think you'd needed, but you'd invested the £100 to £200, and then be like, wait, this only plays 3 of the 25 games that are out at the moment. So it was a real minefield. I do not miss that at all. So
yeah, I bet.
God bless GeForce and Nvidia.
Well, I'm glad they managed to sort of, I remember personally, I was never a massive PC gamer, but I remember trying to even get Medal of Honor, one of the Medal of Honor games playing. And it was asking me to install like a Windows server, well, perhaps not server, but it was also asking me to do, install some type of Windows-based package.
Yeah, there's applications on the side that you needed to install. Yeah.
Well, I think Steam as well has got a large part to play in that too.
Yeah.
And that uniformity, so that's a great little shout. For me, it has to be the loading times. The loading times, we talk a lot about Atari ST on this podcast, but my word, it got even worse on the Commodore 64 and ZX Spectrums, and change, especially tape-based machines. You might as well go and make a cup of tea before that game loads. And it really made me appreciate even just stepping back on my 360. Making sure I got all those games before they shut the servers down. Suspend and resume. I don't think you really appreciate it until you've got that machine.
Yeah.
And you take it for granted really quick. But when you try and step back, it makes a huge difference. Games just booting up with speed and aplomb. It's great to see stuff on SSDs and the difference that makes.
I tell you where
imagine trying to go back without it. Oh.
Well, where I noticed it was when I bought my Series X, I moved my 1X to my downstairs TV and thought, we'll use it for a light gaming / media server type thing. Yeah. And like you said, when you do go back to that older system, even though it was 4K and it was a really good system, the loading times are abysmal. the
Yeah.
Xbox OS is not optimized for anything, let alone running games.
No.
And so it was actually that prompted me to recycle, sell and recycle my One X and get myself a Series S. So got
Yeah.
a nice little S that boots up immediately. That SSD is it's a game changer. It really is a game changer.
100%. I couldn't go back to it, and if anyone decides to make a bizarre move and pivot back to old style hard drives,
Look, I know we're going
don't
back
even
in
think
time.
about it.
I know we're going back in time for records because there's a certain sound that comes with the graininess of the wax, but this isn't like that.
No,
Data's
definitely
data.
not.
It's ones and zeros.
Exactly. Right, recommended buy time here,
Or
ladies
not.
and gentlemen. This is going to be feisty. Well, let me start off because I've got a bunch of pointers here. My recommended buy, because you're going to counteract me here, and this should be real interesting. My recommended buy is a Backbone 1 controller this week for Android and iOS devices. I wanted to get back into mobile gaming. I went through my whole 11-year purchase history on iOS, got real deep into the amount of games that I'd downloaded over the years, and I was like, how do I create uniformity here? How do I create one experience that just works? And I found this backbone controller in CEX. You know I loved CEX. I bought one for about £35. And then you install the Backbone 1 controller app. Now, this is where it's going to get contentious. I personally think, for me, it's worth the value. Because what it basically does is it's a curated storefront. So if you've got a mobile gaming device, not only you think iOS is just one tiny fraction of how mobile gaming is today, because not only can you play iOS-based games, you can tap into the Apple Arcade subscription. You can tap into the PlayStation Cloud, the Xbox Cloud, the streaming of the games that are on, running off discs off your consoles locally in the same Wi-Fi connection. You can also get access to GeForce Now, all curated in one app inside this, and it's £30 a month for 12 months, and I think that's a small price to pay, considering some of the garbage that people pay for. You know, who's getting the real value out of £20 a month for GPT-4 right now? I'd love to know the full £20 out of it. You are.
I'm getting
not kidding.
I'm getting the value of someone else's £20 that they're paying.
Oh,
sure.
Right. But it's a software as a service subscription that comes with this controller. I tried it outside of the software as a service lineup, so I went and played a couple of games that aren't supported by it, and they were working. But I thought that generally the controller felt really sturdy. I like the fact that it had a capture button, and I'm really big on capturing footage and indexing it all now. Really easy to do. All right, you have to press a confirmation button on the screen. The controller runs off the feed and the power of your device. So you plug it in. You don't need any additional batteries. There's a community that you can get involved with other users and potentially play with other users on that service as well. But yeah, I thought it was pretty decent. I'm playing it on a second gen SE, and I'm playing some really, really good mobile games. And I think it's more to do with the controller than the software as a service. The fact that playing mobile games on a controller these days is a bit of a game changer. It takes those games that just aren't playable with touch controls and gives it a whole different dimension on it. I think it's better, but I would go out and buy this over a PlayStation Portal any day of the week. So that is my recommended buy. Now we're going to get the rebuttal.
No, look, a lot of what you said is not wrong, okay? And the reasons I have issues with this are strictly my own personal reasons, but these are probably reasons that are shared with millions. And I'll start by saying that, yes, you're using a second generation SE. For those of us who have got 15s and these phones with chungus cameras that protrude this far out of the phone now,
all right,
it doesn't fit.
Oh, does it not?
It doesn't fit. So when I bought the Backbone, I bought it about 3.5 years ago. I had an 11 and it fit. And then a few months
Yeah.
later, I upgraded to an iPhone 13 Pro, and then that protruded. And I was like, oh, crap, they haven't thought this through, or I haven't thought this through. But then
Right.
they were nice enough to advertise on their website, oh, you can buy an adapter. You just pay for shipping. It's completely free. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just do that then, like $10 or whatever. So
Yeah.
they shipped that thing, took 2.5 weeks to arrive, slapped it on there. This adapter is 100% soft rubber. So it doesn't clip in, it doesn't sit anywhere snugly. It just kind of goes in between the phone and the controller to wedge up the other side or something so that the camera doesn't protrude or push it out
Yeah.
or whatever. This is a while ago now. That didn't work as well as I'd hoped. And then obviously since then I got another phone and I just haven't invested in that controller anymore, which is sad because I really want to like it. Like you said, it's built very well. It's probably the best mobile controller I've ever used. And during the time I did use it with my 11 Pro, it was phenomenal. But
Yeah.
this was also during the time where they gave me a 1-year free subscription to the service.
Right.
And then they started trying to charge me $59.99. I don't know if it was a month or a year, or I don't know what it was, but I was like, hang on a second. Why am I paying to stream my Xbox in the other room to my phone?
Yeah.
That's the part that didn't sit well with me also. And then it wouldn't let me...
Software as a service stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, then it didn't let me use the damn thing I had already paid for. So I'm like, hold on a second. So you made me pay for this device, and I've still got to pay to continue using it. So if I stop using it, I can't use something that I physically own. That's my beef with it. If they had an option where it was like, look, you can use it with what you've got around the house, but if you really want an elevated experience, then pay extra, then fine, I'm all for it. You get the choice. You'd be happy, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
But it's backed me into a corner, and fortunately, I bought it with Amazon vouchers. So, I practically got it free with, I think it was a birthday card, a birthday gift 1 year or something. But it's a shame because it really was a short-lived, happily married situation for about 3 months.
Well, that's really interesting. I might do a little very brief follow up on this because I specifically tried the game outside of the app. Now, this game is 12 years old. I just immediately thought there'd be no support for it because of how old it was. Now, maybe there was support for it, so I need to go back and check. But I thought, so maybe I could be wrong in the fact that if it's making you do that proprietary thing, I'd agree with you that that's a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
But it was a 12-year-old Sega game. I thought, nah, they ain't going to bother with that thing. No one's looking at that anymore. But maybe it is on there. I'd be interested to do a search.
You know
because
what?
I think...
Let's set ourselves some homework. I'm going to dust mine off and I'm going to connect it to this phone and see how bad it connects and what I can and can't do with it. And then we'll reconvene on the next episode and trade war stories. But I want to like it.
So maybe it's a recommended buy with a slight hesitation until you get the response.
It's more of a do your research before you buy.
Yeah, exactly. But just generally speaking, though, if you were to say, so it works. So this side, it's £30 a year for curated. What's meant to take away all the complications, then do you think that, aside of the issues that you have with the device that you've got, and let's say that certain games do work outside of the app, it's not giving you that uniformed experience, would you mind paying something like £30 a year just for a real seamless experience?
£30 a year or a month? I think you said month earlier.
No, it's a year.
A year. Okay, that's not as bad as obviously a month. A month, no way. 30 a year.
No.
Again, I can load up the Xbox app on my iOS device, and I should be able to connect a physical controller I've already paid for, and it should just work. Yeah. And that's the part I'm a little bit hazy on, if it still works or if I have to pay through the app. I don't know is the answer. 30 a year in the grand scheme of things is not bad. If you're going to get the usage out of it, then it's not bad. Yeah. But if I've got consoles around the house, I want to use it as an extension of those consoles as a peripheral. That's where I've got a bit of an issue with it. But in saying that, though, I've been thinking a lot lately about this potential Xbox handheld. And I'm looking at the ROG Ally, and I'm like, that does look like a tasty bit of equipment. So I might not have a need for this type of controller in the near future. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Well, I've got a Steam Deck and I've still got this thing. Well, you can't get the art, and there's some decent. I want to get onto the Playstack because I've got a very interesting story off the base of the Playstack. But we'll come back on the next episode and just check a couple of these little things out, because for me it just turned the dial on mobile gaming for me, and I don't mind paying £30 a year if it means I'm going to get a real seamless experience. So expect a follow up on that. Anyway, we're going to rattle through our last segment here, our play stack. I've played a bunch of stuff. Let me just go through a couple of really quickly, and I'll pivot to yourself before I get on to my last one, which I want to talk about before this episode's over. As you've obviously heard, I've obviously got the Backbone controller, so there's a couple of mobile games on here. Hot Lap League is on mobile and also on Steam. This game, if you like Trackmania, you're going to love this game. Really well done. The only thing I would say with it is there's not enough variation in the world design for the tracks. So you get a whole heap of different tracks, and they're, some of them about 45 seconds a run, 60 seconds, 1 minute 12, 1 minute 15. The idea is to hit the hot lap to score within bronze, silver, gold in order for you to unlock the next track. What was super impressive with this was the drifting mechanics, and it's on mobile, and it's better than the drifting on most Need for Speed games, which is stunning. Ran like a dream on an iPhone SE Gen 2, so it's going to run superb on more modern phones. It's got a lot going for it. It obviously teases you in to come back every day, because you can get daily challenge points, which you can spend as gold on customization options for the cars. Really enjoyed that, and I paid $5 for that game, and I don't regret it.
There you go.
So that was pretty decent. Then I played my 3DS, of which one of the games was Mario Kart 3DS.
How does that hold up?
It holds up incredibly well. Oh, if anything, I think it's my favourite Mario Kart game of the series. Mario Kart, the latest Mario Kart on the Switch, it handholds people too much. There's that assistance in it. Do you remember when you used to go over a banana skin on Mario Kart 64 and you could press brake quickly and stop the skid from happening and you spinning out?
Right.
Like, all of these little nuances out of the later Mario Kart games have seemingly been removed, and you can't take advantage of them anymore. Mario Kart 7 is that fine line where it's kept faithful to the older style games. But then I guess the big thing for me is not only does it bring back some really classic N64 tracks, such as the Katamari Desert. I think Rainbow Road of the N64's on there. I need to double check in terms of my some of the notes that I made for it. It's obviously got 4 cups of unique tracks for the game, and then 4 cups of classics. But I want to get down to the meat and bones. Why I love this game so much is the 3D effects. The 3DS effects, and I know people used to get headaches, or there was a reason why Nintendo turned the 2DS into a slice of Edam. Do you remember?
Yeah.
They gave up on the 3D effects. I was playing this game, and all of the fire coming out of the back of the cart was coming out of the screen into my face, and then you had that depth of looking into the world. So it had a mix. It wasn't just looking into a world. You had certain effects, like when the ink gets sprayed at you, you can really feel that coming towards you. And this is just on the smaller screen 3DS, let alone the 3DS XL. And it just reminded me how much I really enjoyed some of those 3D features on video games.
Yeah.
And I think they did I thought they did really well with auto stereoscopic 3D, which was their unique thing, which used a parallax barrier in the device's screen to be able to achieve this without putting on any glasses. And I just really enjoyed what I played in Mario Kart 7. 32 tracks, Luigi Raceway, Katamari Desert, Cooper Beach, all from the N64, which is still, you know, the toss-up. Mario Kart 64 or Mario Kart 7 is my favourite Mario Kart game.
Really?
I enjoyed the latest Mario Kart on Switch, but they dumbed it down too much. They've dumbed it down too much for the everyday player, and it's kind of taken that gloss off. So that was Mario Kart 7, and then we don't need to talk about Fallout 76, but guess what? When I was backing up all of my 360 purchases, I went back on to Call of Duty Black Ops multiplayer.
Oof, the first one.
Boy, yeah, the first Black Ops, which had stereoscopic 3D campaign by out of interest. Oh, damn. People are still playing it.
Really?
Easy, go on there right now. You will get a game on Call of Duty Black Ops. And it just reminded me, it's the only Call of Duty multiplayer game outside of the first three, which were set in the older world, that I really enjoyed and got on with. Unbelievable balancing on this. I absolutely love this game to bits, and it reminded me just how perfectly balanced. I don't like what they've done with Warzone. I think it's rubbish. It's not for me. A lot of people like it. I think that it's lost its way. But there's a lot of people that probably feel the same, that are still playing this game until they shut these servers down. Mm-hmm. But just some of those legendary maps. Border Town. Mm-hmm. Set in Mexico.
Nuketown.
Summit. Set right in. And Nuketown, of course. Yeah. Nuketown, that map was iconic. Went back in. Plays exactly like the day you remember playing it.
Nice.
And if you've got a 360, go back and play this game. People are still on there. It blew my mind. And then the last game I'm going to talk about, before we switch to you and then I'll talk about the last one, this is what I'm talking about, old people still playing this game. That game I alluded to with the Backbone controller was Virtua Tennis Challenge. It came out 12 years ago, and people are still playing it on mobile.
Wow.
12 years ago. This is what's opened my eyes about mobile gaming. There are a bunch of people out there playing games that are peons old.
Yeah.
And they're still playing it online. You get yourself a decent controller, you can play these games online. Not like most of these console games where no one's playing them after a year that they've come out.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, we've seen what's happened to Foam Stars. I was just stunned. 12 years old this game was. I got a game straight away. You tell me there's not a better reason to possibly invest a little bit of money and look at mobile gaming again. I was blown away. Over to you.
Oh, my list is simple. Besides Fallout 76, I've really gotten into Dead Island 2. I'm knee deep in the campaign. I'm going through it. I'm going through the thick of it. Random co-op players joining in, jumping in, helping me kill a few, and then I'm logging off. Really simple. Yeah, nice, mindless zombie bashing.
So that was how far are you through that now?
The main campaign, I'm about 50% through.
50% through.
Yeah, still got to mop up all the sides and the achievements and the kill achievements and all that stuff, but I'm having a good time actually. Didn't realize I'd have such a good time with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get back into that. Play 2 hours and
thoroughly impressed.
I was impressed with it too. Yeah. We talked very briefly about the Alexa features. Did you use any more of those?
No. I don't want to talk to my games.
Yeah, no, fair enough. All right. Anyway, I'm going to go on to the last thing, and this was what I got super excited about. I mean, I was almost wetter than an Oz pocket. My goodness me, Ubisoft have nailed it. They've absolutely nailed it. Free-to-play shooter. It's in playtest right now. XDefiant. This is a potential. Ubisoft have been trying to crack the FPS, an arena shooter, whatever you call it. They've been trying. I remember some of the most bizarre things that they tried in the past to try and nail this genre to bring out a free-to-play game that's going to be successful. Now, granted, they could easily mess this up because they like microtransactions right up the backside. But what I played this playtest, oh my god, it is beautiful. This game hasn't even come out. It isn't even coming out till June. They've got weapon balancing on point. Imagine the finals meets Overwatch meets Call of Duty, and taking the best bits from all of that and smashing it together, but also looking at the root points which made the original Rainbow Six Vegas game so great. 4 things there, and they brought it all together. Here's the kicker. Not only can you play as characters from Splinter Cell, you can play as characters from Watch Dogs, you can play as characters from Far Cry, and you can play as characters from the Ghost Recon series. And you've got maps that are themed from those specific games, and you've got other maps that are themed around completely new games. So you've got original maps, but you've also got maps that hark to these actual games themselves, like New York, as in the case of Division. It plays tight, it plays robust, it gives you that sense as well. From my play, I just stepped in. I felt like I was playing Titanfall again in terms of that feeling, that sense that you've got that win factor in you. It's got 5 different game modes. One of the game modes is called Escort, but it's like Attack and Defend from the original Rainbow Six Vegas game. You have to basically escort this package through their defensive line and keep pushing it over the course of this like 10-minute round or however long it is, and your opponents have the ability to push it back. I'm telling you, this is a sleeper hit. This is a potential real massive moment for Ubisoft. And I never thought I'd big up a game. And after the disappointment of Rainbow Six Siege, this has filled everything. I can't wait for this game to come out. I'm gutted that I can only play this till the 21st of April. As soon as we're done, I'm back on that game.
I might have to download the demo and see what you're talking about.
Have I sold it to you like a used car salesman?
I mean, I'm looking for something online, to be honest. Haven't found it yet. So this may be
finals tried to do it. The finals didn't quite do it. There's still some interesting aspects of the finals that are unique. This game just
hits.
Just hits. And it's the first, I've quite enjoyed things like Fortnite, which I know isn't your bag. This is going to be your bag, I think. I think this might be your bag. And for me to praise an Ubisoft game like that after playing it, and especially after the disappointment when I had, was all in for Rainbow Six Siege and it pulled the rug on me. Damn. That's why I had to come on and make that quick video before we recorded tonight. That is how good it is. And I'm going to be on that literally after we finish up here. Speaking of finishing up here, if you haven't got any more games, I think we're done.
I'm done. I've been a very slow week for me in games, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we've got a compressed record, and that wraps us up, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to get involved in the poll. It'll be on your platform. And that reminder for that viewer question of the week, for those that do tune in right till the end. What was the first ever video game you played that truly blew your mind? Let us know why. We'll be back on episode 4 reading out the best comments. And that's a wrap. We've managed to do it in less than 90 minutes.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
All done.
Well, there we go. I've been Nomad.
And I've been Shady Armic.
And we'll catch you guys for episode 4. Loads of great content coming soon. Bye-bye.